please make sure your volume is on. If it's not, you're gonna struggle. You need to hear what I'm saying, not just what I'm writing down on my paper. So take a second to grab some headphones if you need to. All right, here's your notes today. And we're also gonna be, I'm gonna show you something with vertical angles here in just a second too. All right. Make sure your name, date, and period are in the top left corner. I'm gonna try really hard to remember to pull up your page when it's time. So name, period, date. It's March. Don't worry, friends. I know what day it is. Okay. Adjacent angles. Oops, sorry about that. Adjacent angles are very similar to supplementary and complementary angles, except that they add up to a given amount. Okay, so supplementary angles add to a given amount. So what I mean by that is it's probably not gonna be 90 or 180, but they are gonna give you the amount that it adds to so that you can write an equation and solve it. Okay, vertical angles, I love vertical angles, but if you're not used to them, they can throw you off a little bit. So I'm gonna demonstrate something here with vertical angles so that you can understand what I'm saying. Okay, remember that vertical angles are created by two intersecting lines. Okay, so I got two intersecting lines here, and my ruler moved a little bit, so it's gonna be a little funky. Okay, so remember what we learned about vertical angles. We would say that this angle right here is a vertical angle to this angle right here. And watch what happens when I fold my paper, okay? Okay, hopefully you can see that on the video. And remember that my ruler moved a little bit. But if you look at that, those angles are exactly the same, okay? So if this angle happened to be, let's say, 45 degrees, this angle right here would also be 45 degrees, okay? Same works, two sets of vertical angles happen when you intersect lines. So if I fold it this way, let me line it up. Okay, again, my ruler moved, so it's not gonna be perfect, unfortunately. Okay. If you look at this angle right here, when I fold it, it goes right on top of itself. It is exactly the same measure, okay? So that means that if this angle right here, so we could say this one and this one are congruent, if this is 135 degrees, so is this one, okay? So that's what's different about vertical angles. They're literally the same. They don't add to something. If this is vertical to this, same measure. If this one's vertical to this one, same measure, okay? So for our key information here, vertical angles are congruent, meaning that they have the same measure. Okay. All right, so let's do some problems. I'm going to start with some, we'll mix it up a little bit. I'm going to start with some adjacent angles, some vertical angles, and then I'll have you guys try some on your own. Okay. If you need to pause at any point, please do that. Okay, let's do some examples. These would be considered adjacent angles because they're touching each other. They're right next to each other. They have the same vertex. They share a side. These are adjacent. Okay, so that means that the measure of this angle, 77 degrees, plus the measure of B is going to be this distance. So that's what's different about adjacent. It doesn't add to 90. It doesn't add to 180. It adds to a given amount. Okay, so here we go. And now we're going to solve our equation. Oop, sorry, 42 degrees, friends, okay? Go ahead and see if you can do the next one on your own. It's 27 degrees, This is angle B. The whole thing is 65. I'm going to open my soda. You're probably going to hear it. Sorry. All right, if you are unsure about this one, it was 65 minus 27, and B would equal 38. I'm not being a stickler right now on writing these equations down, but when we get to the point where we have, when we are using algebra, you're gonna have to write the equations down. It's gonna be required, okay? So this is how adjacent angles functions. In the past, most students are just fine with those. Vertical angles, even though they're simple, I feel like they throw people off because they drum to their own beat. People always want to make verticals add up to something and they don't, okay? So here for number 3, if this angle right here is 55, this is a vertical angle to that angle, which means that this is also 55 degrees, okay? So we can say B is equal to 55 degrees. Plain and simple, okay? Same thing here. These are vertical. So if this is 67 degrees, this angle right here is 67 degrees. So B is equal to 67 degrees. Okay. I want you to do the last 2 on your own. Pause your video, work on them, and then we'll go over them in just a minute. Hopefully you had a chance to do those 2 problems. Let's go ahead and write it out. We have this angle, 105 degrees plus B, and then the whole thing is 133, and we're gonna solve for B. And we get B is equal to 28 degrees. 28 degrees. Feel free to use a calculator on these adjacent ones if you want. You should not need a calculator on your verticals. Okay, if this is 84, this is gonna be 84 degrees. Okay, so here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna work on your IXL code. You need to get to 80. If you finish early, please, please, please pull out those green sheet skills. I don't want anybody wandering the room. I don't want anybody giving the sub a hard time. If your friends need help, let somebody sitting next to them help them, or let the sub help them, all right? Email me if you guys need anything. Have a great day.